In the news headline, federal government to disburse 8,000 to 12 million poor household Nigerians for 6 months. Senate confirms appointment of service chiefs and head of security agencies. Mass graves discovered in Darfur as Egypt hosts summit to end Sudan crisis. Good evening, listeners. Today is Thursday, 25th Zulhijjah 1444 after Hijrah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is equivalent to 13th July 2023. I am Salma Adam Iko with the news. President Bola Tinubu has said democracy must be nurtured and sustained for Nigeria and the rest of Africa to make genuine progress and development. He stated this in Abuja when he received leaders of the Senate, led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who was at the State House to congratulate him on his emergence as chairman of ECOWAS Authority of Head of State and Government. In a statement by his spokesperson, Dele Alaki, Tinubu said democracy must survive and they need to make progress. The president said his election to chair the body of 16 West African head of government was unexpected and unanimous. President Tinubu pledged not to let Nigerians down in discharge of his responsibilities. In spite of current challenges, Senator Akpabio said the Senate and the International Assembly will continue to support the president to deliver on his mandate and accomplish his vision for a more prosperous Nigeria. The House of Representatives has amended the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act and approved President Bola Tinubu's request to source for 500 billion naira from the approved budget to provide palliatives for Nigerians following the removal of petrol subsidy. This amendment comes 24 hours after the president's request and was speedily taken through second and third reading, which according to the lawmakers was in line with the need to urgently cushion the effect of removal of subsidy. Lawmakers urged the president to ensure judicious use of the funds as requested. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has disclosed a plan by the federal government to transfer 8,000 naira to 12 million poor households in Nigeria for a period of 6 months. This was contained in a letter the president wrote to the House of Representatives regarding the $8 million loan request of the Buhari administration for the Social Safety Net program. The president is asking for approval of the House to secure the loan. According to the president Bola Tinubu, the money transferred to poor households will have a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals. The president said money will be transferred to the household digitally. President Tinubu has said 12 million families will get 8,000 naira over a period of 6 months to cushion the hardship faced by Nigerians as a result of subsidy removals. The House of Representatives has tabled a request for the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAMB) to extend the authenticity of the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination result to 3 years. A legislator representing Ekiti North Federal Constituency, Akim Rotimi, moved the resolution yesterday and urged JAMB to rethink the arrangement to adhere to international standards. The motion was tagged as the need for the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board examination result to be valid for 3 years. The change gives candidates multiple windows to sit for the exam in a year and bring immediate relief to students and their parents or sponsors who bear the burden of paying every year for the exam. Meanwhile, the Senate today confirmed the nomination of service chiefs and head of security agencies newly appointed by President Bola Tinubu. This followed the screening of the top brass by the upper chamber. Senate President Godswill Akpabio said the service chiefs answered questions on defense-related matters and topical issues. The president had in a letter read on Monday on the floor of the Senate requested that the Red Chamber confirm the service chiefs. The service chiefs confirmed that Major General C.G. Musa as Chief of Defense Staff, Major General T.A. Lagbaja and Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral Ogalla as Chief of Naval Staff, and AVM H.B. Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff. Other IGP are Kayode Egbetokun, Acting Inspector General of Police, and Major General Odiande, Chief of Defense Intelligence. And the news is coming to you from studio of Sawaba Radio. More news after the short break. You stay.
This is News on the Hour, Sawaba Radio FM. Stay tuned.
The Chief of Army Staff Major General Taurid Lakbaja has said that the fight against insecurity in Nigeria needs new skills that are proactive, adaptive, and inclusive. He said this was what he will be bringing on board as Chief of Army Staff if confirmed by the Senate. General Lakbaja said this during his appearance before the Senate today during a screening for his confirmation as substantial Chief of Army Staff. He said that Nigeria has gone through challenging security situations which have impacted on the economy and entire fabric of the society, making governance more challenging. He said will do his best to justify the confidence imposed in him by President Tinubu and Nigerians. The presidential candidate of Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, urged security agencies to do more in securing the nation, saying that it is unacceptable for innocent Nigerians to continue to be killed in their hundreds within their own country. He also urged critical stakeholders, including traditional Christian and Muslim leaders, to continue pushing for peace among their people in way and manner they conduct themselves. He noted that rising insecurity in the country, leading to mindless bloodletting, particularly in the north-central zone of the country, and the continued disruption of business and social activities in Southeast are all becoming very worrisome. So far, over 1,230 Nigerians were killed, and 79 of them are security operatives, with over 600 abductions in the first quarter of this year alone. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) has suspended the operations of all Boeing B373 aircraft of domestic carrier Max Air. Suspension is with immediate effect, according to a letter by the regulator to the domestic airline. The letter was signed by NCAA Director of Operations, Training and Licensing, Captain Ibrahim Bello Dambazau, on behalf of the NCAA Director General, Captain Musa Nuhu. By implication, all domestic flights of the airline will be on hold until the suspension is lifted. The authorities' action is due to the several occurrences that involve in the Max Air aircraft as listed. Loss of number. The authority has constituted a team of inspectors to conduct an audit for the organization. A mass grave has been discovered in Sudan's West Darfur state with at least 87 bodies as a regional summit hosted by Egypt to help solve the crisis in Sudan. The United Nations Human Rights Office said that it had credible information that the paramilitary rapid support forces were responsible the same day the summit kicked off in Cairo. The United Nations said the mass grave included the bodies of Masalit people, an indication of the ethnically motivated fighting taking place in the state. United Nations said peoples were forced to bury the bodies near the city of Al-Genina between June 20th and June 21st. The RSF has denied being responsible for the graves in West Darfur. The fighting in Darfur has raised fears about a repeat of atrocities that occurred when more than 300,000 people were killed in what amounted to ethnic cleansing. Meanwhile, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi relayed his plan to end Sudan conflict at the summit in Cairo, which include a 3-month ceasefire, safe passages for aid, and communication between the warring factions. Egypt's plan rests on its historical close ties with the Sudanese army. The summit was attended by leaders of Central African Republic, Chad, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Libya, and South Sudan. The group also debated sending troops to Sudan to protect civilians. Ethiopia and Egypt had strained relations in recent years due to conflict over a dam constructed by Ethiopia on the Blue Nile. The summit is the latest international peace mediation effort to address Sudan's conflict after several United States and Saudi brokered ceasefires have broken down in recent months. I will wrap up the news with this and a recap of the major stories. From the news, federal government to disburse 8,000 naira to 12 million poor household in Nigeria for 6 months. Senate confirms appointment of service chiefs and head of security agencies. Mass graves discovered in Darfur as Egypt hosts summit to end Sudan crisis. On behalf of the news department and the news editor Haruna Ahmad Bultua, I am Umusama Adamu Iko. Thank you for listening.